It's now my great pleasure to introduce Bishop Victoria Matthews. Bishop Matthews is only the second woman to become a diocesan bishop here in New Zealand. She is in high demand as a retreat leader and guest lecturer, and her installation as the Bishop of Christchurch took place in Christchurch Cathedral on August the 30th, 2008. You're about to find out the reason why she is in high demand. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bishop Victoria Matthews.
Thank you very much. 8 months ago, I moved to New Zealand from Canada, and if you think New Zealand is a bit sleepy about environmental issues, try the size of Canada on. When I moved to Edmonton, which is west and north, 10 years ago, the normal thing you heard was, what's wrong with climate change? But that did have to do with it going down to -40 in the winter. I'm glad to say that is no longer said. It's a pleasure to be here. I was in my 20s when I was first inspired by Sir Edmund Hillary, and the glimpse of his vision that I received at that time has never left me. But I have to tell you that when I came in this morning, and one of the first speakers, with the greatest respect, said that New Zealand is a land with great integrity and we can make a profit out of this, I wondered if I was perhaps in the wrong gathering. That just doesn't sit well with me, I have to tell you. And what I'm going to say may be out of step with how many of you think much of the time. I'm going to suggest you just need to add another dimension to your thinking. So the question is it all about ethics, or is ethics a side order? Ethics can never be a side order. In various parts of the world this coming Sunday, many churches will be celebrating something called Environment Sunday. It'll be a call for churches to come together to pray and to act for the environment. In England, almost every diocese now has an environment officer. And the whole of the Church of England has a campaign called Shrinking the Footprint. Making the footprint positive, that's a step forward, I applaud that. But in short, the question is, what's the biggest possible picture for us to look at? Why do Christians, or more accurately, people of faith, believe this matters so very much? Several obvious answers. First of all, I think it needs to be said, we don't own planet Earth. Rather, we're holders of a sacred trust and caregivers for the world environment. And frankly, we need to improve our care of the planet quickly and globally. The Christian Church says this because we believe we're the appointed stewards of all that has been entrusted to our keeping. From the beginning of Genesis, and a lot has been made out of one of the stories of creation which says to look after what you have been given, all the way through the Bible, the message is clear. We are not the owners. Planet Earth, our island home, belongs to God, and to treat what is on loan to us irresponsibly is profoundly wrong. There's such a thing as sinning against creation. Secondly, we know that a very high detrimental environmental effect is caused by the wealthiest nations of the world with their greed and their hoarding, because it takes out its cost on the poorest nations of the world via climate change. That equation, our waste and our greed, causing harm to the population of the 2/3 world, means that we are sinning against the second great commandment of the Judeo-Christian covenant, loving our neighbor. It means doing, therefore, all we can to mitigate climate change and help our neighbors near and far adapt to more environmentally friendly ways of living. Thirdly, And this comes out of what I've already said about climate change causing harm to the world's most vulnerable populations. Climate change caused by our greed and our waste demands justice. We need to act responsibly and do all in our power to alleviate the damage done already, as well as seeking to live responsibly in the present and future. If I go next door or down the street and I do damage to my neighbor's property, otherwise known as his environment, I'm held accountable by the justice system. Why are not more courts concerned with environmental protection and justice? Fourthly, and this again comes out of the Christian proclamation, the scriptures say in Paul's letter to the Romans chapter 8 that the whole universe is being caught up in God's plan of salvation and God's plan for a new creation. It isn't as though the created order has nothing to do with our identity or well-being. We're linked, and our futures are linked. Paul even uses an image that I think is quite wonderful of the whole of creation groaning as a mother groans when about to give birth. There are cosmic forces at